Warning, Weird West Radio contains adult language and discussions. If you're easily offended, do not continue to listen.
In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Weird West Radio. You can always find all of our shows, past and present, on Stitcher. Just search Weird West Radio, as well as our website, rainmanwashere.com/Weird West Radio. And if you like the show, you enjoy the show, usually you Western buffs, you weird Western buffs, you always have friends and you're always in the same fandom circles, share the show. Tell them, hey, check out these guys and help us out. All right, so today it's so funny, Clint, because you and I, it seems like we went on winter break for about a month, roughly, right?
Yeah, I'd say a month. Yep.
It's been a month, and then it's funny because as soon as we took that month off, all these Weird West things started popping up, and I'm like, shit, if we had just one more week, I mean, I wanted to cover the Django comic, and then I found out that Dynamite, which we'll talk about more later in the show, Dynamite, the publishing company Dynamite, just does all types of cool Western comic books. I had no idea until you started posting it, and I went to their site. I'm like, oh, look, they do more than just the Django Zorro crossover.
There's a lot.
Then, of course, there's this new Western series that was recommended to me. I have one of these. There's a bookstore that's right across. I live in a college town, so there's a lot of cool bookstores, kind of stuff that's hard to find usually. So I go into this really awesome bookstore that has anything you could possibly imagine. New, used, just hard to find stuff, new stuff. And on their recommended rack was an independent title called The Good, the Bad, and the Infernal. So then that was another thing that we found during winter break. Literally 2 days after I think we signed off for the winter break, I saw that. I'm like, oh my God, I got to cover this as well. So we have, I know you and I, Clint, combined probably have about, I think we have at least 6 months of this show planned out already.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because we got off. I'm getting all these, you kept messaging me, check this out, check this out, check this out. I'm like, this is break. But I'm glad because all of it was really cool. So
you don't like to read that much on your break? That's what I do during my break, is I catch up on all my reading.
I don't usually have time to read, but when we get into the book, once I started reading, it was like, I got to keep reading. It was just, once you get something and you start doing it again, it works out.
So, well, I haven't had a chance to read it, but I do have a copy on order. We'll talk about what we have planned for that, because I also have something kind of cool planned for that book series as well that I want to do. We were also contacted by a couple publishers that are actually pretty, I don't know if they listen to our show or what, but they sent me an email saying, hey, I see what you guys cover. It's pretty good on the Weird West front. I'm like, if there's anything you guys want a review of mine, this is a notable writer. Oh, I'm not gonna put out his name out there yet, just because of the fact that I haven't worked out any deals with him. But he's all, if you guys want to talk about any of my stuff, I'll send you guys copies for free. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So
more books.
That's exciting. Now, today's show, what we're going to discuss, as we mentioned, our very last show of 2014, is we are going to be discussing and breaking down a few different subjects that I believe fall into the Weird West world, and a little bit, I guess, maybe not so much the Weird West, but it's definitely something not that you see every day, and that's the Django Zorro comic book graphic novel crossover. We're going to break down that, at least the first issue, talk about that, and then also we're going to jump into there actually being a possible film adaptation as well of this graphic novel of Zorro slash Django. And I don't think I need to sit here and sell you guys on the idea of how awesome that would be, right, Clint?
No, not after reading what we did.
I mean, I think I'd jizz my shorts. I mean, the opening 30-second teaser of Django and Zorro, I'd be done. I'm like, dude, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Growing up as a kid, watching Zorro, wasn't Zorro sweet? I mean, every incarnation of Zorro, in my opinion, was pretty cool in some instance.
So were you a big Zorro fan?
Oh, man, I love Zorro. It's when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Zorro. Just obsessed. Even Zorro the Gay Blade. Have you ever heard of that one?
No.
There was a movie. There was a movie called Zorro the Gay Blade, and it was actually there was a twin Zorro, and he was called the Gay Blade because he dressed up in pink and like weird girly colors.
Oh, jeez.
That would never fly in today's PC world.
We're not going to review that one, are we?
No. It's actually pretty good, dude. For what it is, it's actually pretty entertaining for what it was.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. But first, we do have some Western themed news. But yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's just jump into the Western themed news. Number one thing is that during the winter break, I caught a brief glimpse. Yet another element that I want to talk about immediately when I saw it was HBO does kind of like these previews when you're watching their shows. They do these like kind of trailers of all of their shows of 2014 or on HBO. You know, when you watch one of their shows, it'll show you a trailer with snippets from all their current television programs, their lineup. Well, one of the last ones of 2014, it was mid-December, popped up, and it had its first scene from the upcoming Westworld. And I got psyched. I mean, all it was Ed Harris. That was it, with his blue eyes, just kind of staring at the camera and walking towards it. That was all it was. And I immediately got excited because, of course, if you guys aren't in the know on this new HBO's, I guess you can call it a remake or reimagination of this old movie, Westworld, they are turning it into an ongoing television series with an all-star cast, as we discussed a couple shows ago. And Ed Harris, I think, is one of the bigger names that's a part of that. So I'm just excited that they obviously they're shooting scenes because they showed that, and I just get psyched for it. And I think it's coming out, I want to say towards the end of 2015. Don't quote me on that because I don't have the exact dates in front of me quite yet. But believe me, as it gets closer, I might even say after watching the first episode of that, I think you and I might have to do a special edition version of the show for that. So,
right on.
Yeah, I'm thinking we might have to, man. I mean, that definitely falls into the category of Weird West. So, but I'll let you know. I think if we keep going this way, we'll have like special editions of the show for every single show we like, and this will basically be a 5-day-a-week show.
Yeah.
But sorry about that. I was taking a sip of Red Bull. And then also Longmire Season 4 is set to premiere on Netflix this coming summer. I had no idea it was going to be this soon. Did you have any idea that they're going to be moved? They already moved into production, obviously. I mean, one of the head writers tweeted out that they're in the writing room. So they're writing and they're going to be having the entire package ready to go by summertime.
That's pretty excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea that. I thought there might be a slight delay. Because of the cancellation on A&E and then moving over to Netflix, but it's exciting that they didn't miss a beat. I mean, it usually comes out when August. I want to say August, September time, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's actually going to be coming out even earlier.
Like you said, coming off of the big Longmire fan push that they've done and everything, they'd be fools not to try to get something going soon. You know, I mean, I understand why they're trying to get it out and make happy the people that brought it back, really.
Yeah, and they do have, I don't think they have anything to prove because they've proven that they're a pretty damn good show with a pretty solid fan base for sure. But I think they're going to want to come out swinging. I think the writers are going to have like FU A&E t-shirts, while they're shooting, and I think the writers are just going to want to come out swinging. They're going to want to represent and kind of rub it in the faces of this network that just pretty much ended a show that hasn't even hit its stride yet. It's still on its upward tick, So, and I think season 4 is going to be that deciding factor. While that will be like, this show is damn good and it's going to stand the test of time. Now, with all this excitement, Clint, of it going to Netflix, there's already talk of, and this is what I mean by coming out the box swinging, that Longmire has now entered. They went from a network that is, A&E is not really known for their original content. And A&E doesn't really have the type of shows that get nominated for Emmys, whereas Netflix does. And they're joining a roster of some fantastic original content, such as, Orange is the New Black, the Kevin Spacey one, I forgot the name now, House of Cards, Lilyhammer, all these different, award-winning series. So a lot of people are already saying, do you think they're going to are they going to campaign, Longmire to get nominated? Do you think it will get nominated? So this article here says Longmire might have a shot at the Emmys this year as Netflix takes over the former A&E series. Man, that's like going, honestly, nothing against A&E, but they joined the big boys. Netflix is the big league. So it's almost a blessing in disguise that they got canceled by A&E. It really is.
Yeah, because we were kind of up in the air when it first happened. I think we just kind of were in a little bit of shock and awe from the whole thing, how quickly it happened. But
yeah,
after we kind of got over the shock of it all, we did kind of go to the fact that I think this is a way better move for them, because not only do you get that whole binge watching experience, if that's what you're into, but it's you don't have to worry about, kind of lost my train of thought, but you can kind of do your own thing where you don't have to worry about commercials and all that other kind of stuff. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah. So Longmire, going back to this article, Longmire might have a shot at the Emmys this year as Netflix takes over the former A&E series. For 3 seasons, Longmire remained pretty under the radar, beloved by fans but not a constant fixture at the award shows. This might change, however, at Netflix, which has helmed hits like Orange is the New Black and House of Cards, develops and promotes the show's revival for a 4th season. So according to Business Insider, on July 10th, Netflix scored a total of 31 nominations at the 66th Primetime Emmy Awards in 2014. Orange is the New Black counted for 12 of those, and House of Cards scored 13 nominations. So they're joining the big boys, as I was saying. So the chances, I think, they're going to be looked at in a different light. People love it. People love an underdog, and they love that underdog story, the Rocky story, if you will. So I think they have a lot going for them. Not only are they just a well-written show, but the people that weren't really paying attention to A&E are now going to watch Longmire seasons 1 through 3. If they haven't already watched it because they're available on Netflix, they're going to watch it. As Netflix starts promoting season 4 coming up, you're going to see a huge surge, more than you've probably seen in the past years, of Longmire just being watched and streamed on Netflix, seasons 1 through 3, for sure. So this is just a giant, epic, fantastic move for them, and I'm really excited to see what becomes of it.
It'd be cool to see if they got some Emmys.
We need to get Lou nominated. We gotta get Lou nominated here. I mean, last season, Lou and Walt Longmire, I always forget his real name, the actor that plays Walt. They just, some of the best work they've done in the last 3 years was all in the second half of the 3rd season.
Yeah.
So that is it on this note on the Western news front, but we're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to jump into our breakdown and analysis of the Django Zorro Crossover graphic novel. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back on Weird West Radio later.
I'm out here on 1,000-acre plot of land, and I can't hear him hating on me. I'm a modest man, talking weird Jimmy Mathers, and he got a plan. And when he talk, I listen to him. That's a lot of man. He said we need to take it back to the
Don't y'all go nowhere. Weird West Radio will be right back.
can you convince? How can you possibly convince, prostitutes? You have 8 minutes to convince a woman who basically just went down on a guy, probably is loaded on coke, probably has a pocket full of money, and say, listen, you have no education, you have no ways, any other means to take care of yourself, but hey, let me convince you in 8 minutes to go, let me set you on the right path.
Is it like if you do it under 8 minutes, you go away with some prizes or something like that, like a new microwave, new flat screen TV? Oh, sorry. 8 minutes, 10 seconds. We have some consolidation.
All right,
for you.
prostitute from Van Buren at 24th, come on down. You're the next contestant on 8 Minutes. Starring Drew Carey as the host.
What does the studio audience say?
Sorry, sir. You don't win anything. But, Maggie, we're going to go ahead and give you a bag of Coke and $200 for your time.
Yes.
Survey says.
Still a hooker.
All right. So this is A&E.
Yeah, this is A&E.
Yeah, I find it funny that A&E cancels a great show like Longmire with strong ratings to bring on filth like tabloid
Wait.
Jerry Springer
Mike,
bullshit.
It's the same people from Warner Brothers DC.
The Rain Man Show, every week on Rain Man Digital. Go to rainmanwashere.com for more details.
Okay. Hotel Watchdog. They analyze millions of details to find the best hotels for you. How it works? Well, they've made the hunt for hotels much easier by doing the hard work for you. And here's exactly how they do it. They analyze prices and values to save you money. They look for hotels that are lower prices than similar hotels nearby. They also look to see if a hotel's current price is lower than its average. And they research locations to put you in the action. They make sure the location is a winner. Hotels that are near top attractions, restaurants, and nightlife spots earn their higher rankings. They also comb through reviews to ensure a top quality stay. And they combine all the details into one amazing list. Instead of hunting through hundreds of listings, you can choose your hotel from best of the best and save both time and money. So save some money for your next trip and go to our website, rainmanwashere.com/WeirdWestRadio. Hotel Watchdog.
Y'all listen to Weird West Radio on Rain Man Digital.
All right, we are back on Weird West Radio on Rain Man Digital. You know what, Clint? We're going to jump into the Django Zorro graphic novel. Now, the inside track, it's featuring a story by Oscar-winning writer and director, Django creator Quentin Tarantino, and award-winning writer-artist Matt Wagner, the official sequel to Django Unchained, in the first ever comic book sequel ever done of a Tarantino film. Set several years after the events of Django Unchained, Django Zorro #1 finds Django again pursuing the evil that men do in his role as a bounty hunter. Since there's a warrant on his head back east, he's mainly been plying his trade in the western states. After safely settling his wife, Broomhilda, near Chicago, he's again taken to the road, sending her funds whenever he completes a job. It's by sheer chance that he encourages the aged and sophisticated Diego de la Vega, the famed Zorro, and soon finds himself fascinated by the unusual character, the first wealthy white man he's ever met, who seems totally unconcerned with the color of Django's skin and who can hold his own in a fight. He hires on Django's as a bodyguard for one adventure and is soon drawn into a fight to free the local indigenous people from the brutal servitude, discovering that slavery isn't exclusive to black folks. In the course of this adventure, he learns much from the older man, much like King Schultz. and on several occasions even dons the mask and whip of the Fox. And it's published by Dynamite Vertigo. It's a combo between Dynamite Vertigo. Dynamite's their own comic publishing brand, but then Vertigo obviously owns the rights, I believe, to Zorro, I want to say. And Vertigo is an imprint of the American comic book publisher DC Comics. So, and Vertigo tends to be they're their mature imprint. So when you have something more of a mature substance rather than like the typical Batman or Superman, you're going to see it fall under DC Vertigo or Vertigo. Much like Constantine, that comic book and movie and TV show, that's under Vertigo.
Oh.
So you're going to see stuff like that, more adult geared substance or subject matter. So, and that's one thing that kind of sold me on this as well, because I don't think, you couldn't tell a decent Django story by Tarantino if this was like on just the regular DC imprint or the Marvel imprint. The fact that it makes more sense that it is on the mature side a little bit more, the Vertigo.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Now, how we're going to do this, we're going to talk about issue number 1, and then each show afterwards, we'll have a specific segment moving forward. Well, we'll review each issue separately. Today, Clint, we're going to spend a little bit more time on the comic book or the graphic novel, but then after that, we'll give it a quick review, maybe 5 to 8 minutes every other show as we read them. So starting today, we're starting with issue number 1. So if you out there in Radioland listening and you're interested in checking it out, follow along with us. Go get a copy of Django Zorro number 1. You can just go to the Dynamite site and order them online. And then you can listen to the reviews as you read as well. And we're starting today, and we're going to be moving forward each week with a new version, with a new issue we'll talk about. So number 1, Clint, let's discuss the writing for issue number 1 specifically. And obviously, writing in a comic book is a bit light. You're not going to get, I guess that's debatable. Some people want to argue with that, say, nope, you can you can get, in fact, I've had arguments about it. Like, no, you can get very detailed writing in comic books. You can, but you can't. There's only so much you can write in a bubble. I mean, I know there's a few writers that have basically filled entire panels with bubbles, and some of the earlier X-Men were like that, and also Neil Gaiman has done stuff that way where the bubble is bigger than the actual art where they're talking. But for the most part, there's only so much you can fit in an effing bubble.
And you don't want to take up a whole, like you said, you don't, with the art that's in this book or this comic, you don't want to cover up that with a big white bubble with words. You just don't.
Well, yeah, because then it becomes a book, not a comic book. So obviously there's going to be less substance in the writing because that's not the medium. If you want to read that much substance, then you better pick up a novel, not a comic book. So looking at this from the writing standpoint, in the first issue, I'll be honest, I didn't really get the Tarantino-esque as of yet, because I was hoping I was going to turn this up, I was going to turn the page, and I was immediately going to be thrown into like a Tarantino-esque scenario. I expected, the clever, witty, banter dialogue. Yes, it's a comic book, as I was just saying, and there's only so much you can write in the bubble, but you can put some pretty witty banter in a matter of, in just a couple sentences. So that part I was a little not turned off because it's pretty cool still. The action is definitely I mean, I think within page 2 you're already getting people's heads blown off.
Yeah.
And they did meet, Django, the way it opens up with Django with Zorro as an older man. This is the older Zorro, obviously. And if you know the story of Zorro, that kind of makes sense. It's the older version of Zorro, and he's just traveling. And I like it because the one of the boxes says, "Is this Arizona or the surface of the moon?" And listen, I'm from Arizona. I live in Arizona, and I can relate to that. And I kind of like because the story takes place in Phoenix, Yuma. So far, those are the two cities that they've mentioned and they've talked about. And I live in Phoenix, and I was born in Yuma, and I go to Yuma all the time. So it's going to be interesting to see how those cities kind of how they view in this, how they portray those cities in this comic book.
Yeah.
Now it starts off with, as I was saying, with Zorro. in a wagon traveling the desert, and he just happens to fall upon Django, and Django meets him, and they converse and they talk, and I do like them meeting. It does, and they actually kind of brought to your attention, but it was very reminiscent of when Django met Schultz, the guy who obviously freed him of slavery and taught him a trade, from the movie. So I liked that. You know, you have this rich, kind of highfalutin, very well-educated person, kind of bestowing more wisdom, and I like that because it doesn't show that Jamie Foxx's character, or not Jamie Foxx, but Django is not ignorant. He's uneducated. He's smart, and it would make sense that somebody who I guess older and more educated can offer some wisdom, and that's kind of what they kind of I guess you can say alluded to by the end of the first issue. Was he was almost taking on the role of Schultz. Like this is Yoda. You know, Schultz was Obi-Wan and now Zorro is Yoda. Like he's going to be now furthering his training and giving and offering more wisdom to Django. And if you know the story of Zorro, he was very wise. Alex de la Vega, I believe that's his name. Sorry, I always forget his name because he has different names sometimes. Diego de la Vega was very, very wise. I mean, in many of the Zorro stories, what he would do is much like Batman, because Batman, you know, is basically an imitation of Zorro. He would actually travel looking for people who are worthy to take on the mask and become Zorro because he's getting older and he's aging and he can't fight like he used to. Or there's always been some reasons as to why he wants. Sometimes it's he's getting old. Sometimes it's personal reasons. He wants to, you know, put away the mask. So it does make sense that you have this guy kind of always on the prowl, Diego La Vega, looking for the next Zorro. And if that's what they're going to be doing, that's pretty interesting. You know, if you want to jump ahead, is that in fact something? Because you've read number 2, I have not. Just briefly, is my analysis correct? Does Jamie Foxx or Django actually end up taking on the mask?
Well,
does he become Zorro at times?
No, it's actually more of how he became Zorro.
Okay.
So it's kind of, you know, they're spacing this out, which I'm kind of excited because I don't like everything in just few issues. So yeah. It's going to be kind of a nice, I think it's a nice smooth story throughout this whole thing, because if I don't quite remember, but I don't even think you see a lot of Django in the second issue.
Oh, okay.
Not as much as in the first.
All right. Well, that makes sense. So it seems like we're going to learn more about. So it looks like Django is going to fall into that category a bit, like the student, whereas Diego will be the teacher or the mentor. Which that's a good. That actually sets up some good synergy between the two characters, because that would make sense to me. It does make sense how they're setting that up. Now, getting back to the writing aspect, you can tell that. Again, it's not very Tarantino-esque yet in issue number 1, but hopefully it gets there. As I was saying, that's probably my only negative in the first issues. I wanted to, yes, I love Django, but let's remember, this is obviously Tarantino's Django. This isn't the Django from the 60s. So if this is Tarantino's Django, his version, then I want to see Tarantino's Django. Do you follow?
Yep. One thing that I liked about this first issue, though, it was a smooth meeting. It wasn't forced on us. It wasn't, he was walking out. I think his horse died, and he hitches a ride. And they just kind of discuss from that point on. They talk to each other. And I kind of like that meeting, a nice, easy meeting. It wasn't, Zorro was in trouble and Django came and saved the day, or vice versa. It was actually, I almost want to say, on equal ground. Yeah. So that's the part I really did like about it.
Yeah. And the chance meeting was interesting because it wasn't like, hey, we're going to take this scenario and they're going to meet each other either. It wasn't insulting. It was actually, they did it kind of clever. Django, as we read, is back on the prowl. He's a bounty hunter again, and he's actually tracking down a gang. And he saw this really uppity carriage, wagon that Diego was in, and he figured this would be a good way to lure out his bounty, because he knew that a target like that was too good to pass up. So he figured, hey, let me come across this wagon, let them know let me hitch a ride with them, because the chances are I'm gonna catch them in the act when they're trying to rob the wagon. Or the stagecoach, whatever you want to call it. So the way they did meet, it was actually pretty clever, and they did it in a matter of like 2 pages, I want to say. It was simplistic and yet not insulting. They found a way to get there fast without taking up too much time, and without it being like, oh, really, like that's stupid.
And they also found a mutual respect for how they both handle their weapons of choice.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I thought that was super cool.
I did like that as well. I do admit that. Yeah, that was awesome actually, because I guess you can break up issue number 1 in 2 categories. Or 3 categories. You have the meat. You have Django brandishing his weapon, showing that he's good in a fight, and then you have the exact the contrast of Zorro, Diego La Vega, doing the exact same thing. He is basically insulted, or I guess kind of almost attacked in town in Yuma, and he then defends himself, and Django happens to see how well this old man can handle himself with a sword. And I like it because in the bubble, Django says, oh yeah, he does remind me of somebody I knew. I knew. So
yeah.
It was a nice little callback to the film, obviously. So now illustrations and art. This guy's art is pretty good. The cover, I personally always am a fan of the cover art on comics, usually more than the actual art, because they're usually done by different artists. But the way the pictures he paints are very vivid. They're colorful. They have lots of detail. One thing that really grabbed my attention, and you could tell me what kind of grabbed your attention the most, was the fight scenes were drawn in a Tarantino-esque way. For example, when Django starts shooting, everything turns red in the background, and I immediately just thought of Kill Bill, and the action scene of Kill Bill where the cinematography changes from regular lighting to like you have the red backdrop and then the blue backdrop. And then also when Zorro fights, everything turns red as well. Like you lose the colors and you go to red and white. So that to me felt very Tarantino-esque, as well as spaghetti Western. So that was probably one of the biggest eye catchers for me as a spaghetti Western buff and a Tarantino fan. And also just the landscapes. I like how they portrayed Yuma in the city with the river, because with the prison in the background, the fort, because that's exactly what Yuma, a lot of people don't realize Yuma used to have a giant river that ran right through town 100 and some years ago, but they dammed it off. So the fact they put the river in there was cool, a nice little touch of detail. So what did you find most interesting about the artwork?
Well, just from the cover alone, I like that both of them are standing, again, with their weapons of choice at almost the exact same pose. Yeah. Zorro's got his sword up and Django's got his gun up. When they published it, or when I saw the very first cover, I was like, that is a super cool looking cover. Just because it's both men with their weapons,
Yeah. No homo.
And then... No homo. And then and like you said, with the landscapes, and I didn't notice the red and stuff until you just mentioned it, which is really cool. But I always like when they're shooting and you've got everything going on, and it seemed like a lot of stuff was in motion. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, the way they captured another thing that I really like with the artwork is the opening scene where I guess 3 pages in, where Django first meets Diego, and the bandits hold up the wagon, and the way that scene's shot with the 3 bandits on the horseback, and the way they're covering the top half of the page, and I guess the guy driving the horse, what'd you call that? The one holding the reins. I guess he's an Indian man who works for Diego.
The driver.
Just that scene, the way that's set up, looks exactly like a shot from a Western film. I mean, the composition that Poles drew, was pretty well done. And this guy isn't a rookie or a newbie when it comes to writing stuff or drawing or illustrating this type of artwork. If you go through the Dynamite's website, you immediately see that this guy is the preferred writer or illustrator for most of their stuff. And he's done the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly stuff. He did the Lone Ranger stuff. So he definitely understands. He definitely gets it. He definitely can grasp the Western genre. In fact, you know what? I'm going to send an email to him and see if he would like to do an interview for the show, because he definitely understands Westerns without a doubt.
Well, in the very first shot what I mean by the firearm going off, the very first kill, you see in the book, it's out the carriage. The bandit goes up to the carriage and he just shoots him while the door opens.
Yeah,
and the bullet's going right through. I mean, I'd love to have that as a framed picture on my wall.
Yeah,
it's cool.
That's how good some of this artwork's done. Even the one where Django first jumps out of the stagecoach and it just says "Blam" right next on the next page. I mean, that's an awesome photo as well. Like, these are the type of things. In fact, I was saying this to Ryan Denton from Supernatural Crossroads. He's the one who actually got me these copies because he works at a comic shop. And I was telling him, I'm like, man, dude, I would love to blow these up and put them in the studio because they're that good. And it fits in with my style that I have in the studio. So, no complaint.
Well, even when you've got... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When Zorro kind of makes his first appearance outside the stagecoach, and he's just standing there with the sunset behind him. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. I really do like it. Now, so that's for issue number 1. Now, no complaints. I mean, you're going to definitely keep reading, right?
Oh yeah, I'm hooked.
Good. Is your wife upset that I'm making you get these things? She's like, oh, God damn it, he already spends enough time in his cave by himself. No comment. She's already getting frustrated, isn't she?
No, she's not. I just don't tell her.
She has no idea what you're doing here. Like, are you looking at porn again, Clint?
No, not again.
No more rawhide videos.
Nice.
Oh man. Now, do you think before we get into the next segment here, do you think just by reading these issues, you've read up to the second issue, correct?
Yes.
Do you think that this would make a good film, just as a general, audience fan type of guy? Can you see this being made into a film, or do you think maybe the crossover, just the two styles are just too different, or do you think it would work?
I don't think they're too different. Without reading the next couple ones, it's tough to decide, but because the second one, like I said, is more of how Zorro became the wealthy person he is, and yada yada yada. But I could see how it would start to be a good movie. But like I said, I kind of really do have to wait and see. But I would like to see just the first comic, maybe in like something like a short, just to see how it looks,
right? With
all the stuff visuals we just talked about. So
yeah, I mean,
right now it's too early to tell. But I so far it's got the makings of a good one.
Yeah, crossovers are definitely something that's tricky. It's very hard to get them right. And I mean, a good example of it's not necessarily a crossover, but mixed genres. And I think from a mainstream perspective, if you want to take what they've done with Marvel, with the films with Iron Man and Captain America and Thor and Hulk, all those movies are very different styles. They all have their own moods, if you will. And when they made Avengers, they were able to take those characters and still stay true to each character without kind of making the Avengers film feel odd or not very sincere. So it can be done. You can take multiple materials or multiple subjects and put them in a project together. But you definitely gotta plan it out. You don't want to just put it in a box, shake it up, and say, "Oh, here you go, guys, it's done." And
that's why I liked how they started these first two. They didn't just.
They were very true to each character.
Headlong. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, on that note, then, there is some news pertaining to the film adaptation, as I teased earlier at the beginning of the show. Again, I don't know how true this is. But I think we're all familiar now with what happened with Sony over the past couple months. They were hacked, and when they were hacked, tons of emails were released online by certain news organizations, and one of them actually alluded to there being an actual film adaptation of Django and Zorro, that it was actually being talked about, which is interesting. Now, I'm going to read this article so that I don't get it wrong, but it's from moviepilot.com, and it's, well, people, get ready to move away from your current state of movie popularity. Whereas for the longest time it's been about superheroes, reboots, and sequels, it seems 2017 and onward might just be the start of something new. Crossovers. 22 Jump Street and Men in Black are getting a crossover merger, supposedly. That's another rumor, which I think is absolutely terrible idea. Batman and Superman will begin duking it out, representing their respective franchises in 2016. So what's next on the crossover agenda? Well, according to a leaked Sony email, Django and Zorro is on the docket. The two-time period powerhouses are apparently crossing over really soon, according to an article from Movie Fanatic, which talks about an email exchange from Sony executive Amy Pascal and Django Unchained director Quentin Tarantino. Amy Pascal writes in the email, she says, "Hello, Amy P here. How are you? I want to talk about the Django Zorro when you feel like it. Also, I still want to do the Dion brothers, and just because I didn't get to be a part of Hateful, doesn't mean I'm ever going to stop waiting to work with you and Harvey." Harvey is, obviously the producer, Weinstein's. And then she says, "Best always, Amy." Tarantino responded, "Django Zorro could be really fun." So, I mean, I don't know if it was just her own, hey, by the way, Django Zorro would be a great idea. Like, she's trying to pitch it, because the comic book has already garnered a lot of success, and there's been a lot of, it's been received very enthusiastically. So of course, producers are going to be jumping at the chance to kind of, sell the idea to the people who actually own the rights. But again, Tarantino saying DZ would be, he's put Django and Zorro would be fun. It doesn't necessarily say they actually ever really talked about it, but the fact that there's a little bit of a dialogue going on, that it's there, that's pretty cool. That it could possibly happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we'll see with the next few issues too, if it would be a good movie. I mean, it could be complete crap, but so far, you never know. It's good right now. Yeah, Tarantino usually doesn't do crap, so as long as they get, the way I look at it, because let's theorize here for a moment, but there's a couple elements that would have to be set in place in order for a movie like this to be good. Number one, Tarantino would have to be either direct it or have to be heavily involved. He would have to be a creative producer. So not just a standard producer where he puts his name on it, but an actual creative producer, much like Del Toro does for certain things, where he's the actual creative producer behind it. So that means his taint, his funk is all over it. So... You know what I mean? Like, they're not directing it. They usually let one of their buddies direct or a protege, but they're on set. They're putting all their input on it. They're not just a jump out of a plane and parachute in producer that wants their name on it. He needs to be a creative producer, if not directing. He has to write the script. Those are my definitives. And if you want this to be good, it has to be written, at least at the most, it has to be written by him, and it has to be in the vein of Django and Zorro. And I think Tarantino, he's a big fan of those fandoms, like the Zorros. He understands these niches, or these niches, however you want to pronounce it. And I think he would be a good choice to direct.
If not, they need to go after someone else that would be a good pick. And they can't just pick some run-of-the-mill director who happens to have a development deal with Sony.
Mm-hmm.
So also casting, it would be crucial. Obviously, Jamie Foxx would have to be Django at this point.
Well, definitely.
And then Zorro.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know who would be Zorro. I have no idea. I mean, I loved Antonio Banderas as Zorro. I never had a problem with him. The second movie I didn't like very much. I guess the two new ones they have, the two recent ones. The first one I thought was good. I haven't seen it in about 6 years, but as I remember it, I enjoyed it. It stayed true to the roots of Zorro. Second film was kind of cheesy to me, but it wasn't Antonio Banderas' fault, So it would definitely. I mean, Martin Campbell. I think Martin Campbell's the one who directed those Zorro movies. I wouldn't even mind him directing the Django Zorro spinoff. Let's keep it close to home. What if Tarantino wrote it? And Martin Campbell, the director of the other Zorro movies, he actually directed. That would be cool, too. So who knows? I mean, Rodriguez, I think, could do a good job. He actually, if you don't remember, if you didn't know this, a lot of people don't know this, but he actually was the original director for the first Zorro film. That's why Antonio Banderas was even in it, because this is during the Desperado time, coming off the success of those movies. He was actually a part of the project and actually had the ball rolling, and it was actually had his hand in writing the script. Once he exited the project, dealing with creative differences with the producers, he wasn't going to be told what to do. He does his thing, and that's how he wants to do it. He left the set, and Salma Hayek was originally cast in as well, not Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Oh, really?
So when he walked, Salma left as well. She, out of loyalty, she left the project. And Banderas basically had a conversation with Rodriguez and asked him, "Do you mind if I stay on this film? This is a big deal for me. This is a big one for me." And of course, Rodriguez was like, "No, by all means, stay on it. You'll be great." But he just had his own differences with the producers, with the production company, so he left. So that's another reason why the first one might have been good and the second one wasn't. When you think about it. So Rodriguez, I think, would be a good choice too. I mean, and we all know that when Tarantino and Rodriguez work together, they always put out some pretty good content. I mean, look at Dusk Till Dawn. That was written by Tarantino, the movie, and directed by Rodriguez, and that to this day is still one of the classics.
Yes.
So who knows? But hopefully, if it does happen, it's done right. I can't imagine Tarantino's name being slapped on the writing, and it sucks. What would you be? You know what? Let's jump into. Do you want to grade this? Yeah. You know what? Yeah. Let's give the first issue. Yeah. Let's give the issue a final. You know what? No. Let's hold off on grades, Clint, and we'll grade when we're done. How many are there going to be out there? Do we know how many issues are going to be?
No, I don't.
Well, you know what? Then let's go ahead and give this a final grade. The issue. Let's give issue number 1 a final grade. What would you give it? Is it 1 shot of whiskey, 2 shot of whiskey, 3 shot of whiskey, or 4 shots of whiskey, or 5?
Ooh, I think it was a great start. I liked how they met, and like we discussed. I don't think there was anything negative about this issue that we even came up with. So I'm gonna go 4 shots. I think it was worthy of 4.
Okay. I will follow that up with 3.5 shots. I think I would like to have seen a little bit more out the box, a little more Tarantino-esque writing a bit, especially since he has top billing for writing on this. And 3.5 for me. On that note, you know what? Let's go to a very quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to close out the show, talk about a couple things and some new ideas that we're going to be doing this year. Don't go nowhere. Weird West Radio on Rain Man Digital. We'll be right back.
Don't y'all go nowhere. Weird West Radio will be right back.
This is Star Wars from the Baka Tank exclusive.
Greg, you thought that, and you guys didn't talk about it before the show,
No.
right? Okay, Dustin, what did you think? Did you think it was some type of astromech droid?
Yeah, it looks like an astromech, or you remember in that god-awful Phantom Menace, those little popper droids?
That god-awful Phantom Menace. Do you remember that?
Buzz droids.
Buzz droids. It kind of reminds me of that, but as I'm looking at the droid, I look in the background, and do you notice what's in the background of this desert planet?
I was trying to figure it out. I paused it a couple times. I just saw ships. What did you see?
Pod racing engines.
Oh, is that what they were?
That's what it looks like to me.
Huh.
Oh, you mean we get to see a return of Wado? Oh, come on. I had little Annie's mother a couple of times. She also worked for me.
God, it's been a while since I've been able to use that voice. Jesus.
Well, now that I know you know how to do that voice, I think I'm going to be using you for some bits.
Greg is Watto.
I've been needing some Watto.
Coming soon to NBC. Watto.
Not ABC.
Oh,
dude.
ABC.
Come on.
ABC. Sorry, ABC.
Why not Watto World and have like Kevin Costner in it?
Oh, come on, Kevin. You can't tell me you piss into a Mr. Coffee and get Taster's Choice. You need credits for that.
And over to FromTheBackToTank.com for more details. And get ready for an excitingly good time. Also, if you've missed our last show, you can also find us on your Stitcher app. Search Back to Tank. Add us to your favorites. Thank you, and we will see you very soon.
They give him his orders at Monroe, Virginia, and Steve, you're way behind time. This is not 38, but it's old.
Man, Clint, we really know how to drag out a show. I thought this show was going to last like 20 minutes.
Well, you know, we kick around the same ideas. I think that's what I like about this show. You know what? When I ordered the fuck we just talked about Django and Zorro, I got the Lone Ranger at the Death of Zorro.
Yeah, I need to go back and get those. I mean, they have. Go ahead.
Oh no! It just it was an excellent book. Unfortunately, Zorro, you know, obviously he dies in it, and it's not that far into the book where he dies. But just the whole, I didn't know there was a whole order of Zorros out there. I don't know what it's called, but
yeah, there's a bunch of them. In fact, it's kind of like what Batman has done in comic book, where he just kind of passes it down.
Okay.
Yeah, he looks for people who are worthy, like kind of like in the first Zorro movie where it was Anthony Hopkins, and he passes it down to Antonio Banderas. So, anyways, yeah. Well, I need to go back and check them out. I want to get the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly comic book. I want to also get the Lone Rangers.
Like it.
And then there's a new one that I want to cover. I didn't even know this, dude. We need to cover this on Weird West Radio as well. Is the where was it? The Princess of Mars, dude. The John Carter Warlord of Mars series. I saw an advertisement in Django Zorro, and I'm like, dude, I love John Carter of Mars. And it's not necessarily weird, but it's weird tales. And we definitely should cover it. It's called John Carter Warlord of Mars. It's you know that movie John Carter that came out a couple years ago?
Yeah.
You remember that movie? It's basically, the comic books are based on the books that's based on the movie.
Yeah, I'm already on volume 8 of the Lone Ranger.
Really?
Trade back the actual book. Yeah,
I need to catch up.
I got addicted to that one right away because it's not like the movie.
Yeah,
I mean they're both pretty badass, and Tonto's not like a fucking pirate with a bird on his head, so pretty cool.
such a slam. Poor Johnny Depp.
That movie.
All right, we're back. Rain Man Digital, Weird West Radio. You can always pick up our most recent shows on Stitcher. Just search Weird West Radio. Also, our websites, rainmanwashere.com/Weird West Radio. I'm hoping we're going to be on iTunes as well soon. Hopefully very soon. We also have an app getting ready to kick off. Hopefully by the end of this month. It's all done. I've been working for the last 3 months on it, Clint, trying to get it all cleaned up and nice. But it'll have our entire network will be on that app. All our radio channels, our 24-hour radio stations that stream live, and then we'll have also each individual show on the network. We'll have Supernatural, Star Wars, my Rain Man show, Weird West Radio, and then the new one, Critique Revolve, which is the movie, television, whatever review show. So,
cool.
Yeah, I should be ready to go. All right, so the last bit before we close out the show for today, Clint, is I want to have something new, and I haven't talked about this with you. I have a bad habit of not discussing these types of things with the hosts, with my co-hosts, but I think we'd be cool to start a book club. Much not like lame Oprah's book club, okay? But it would be cool to have a book club where we actually pick a book to read every month. And then our listeners, since we're building up a pretty good fan base here, could choose to pick up that book as well and read it along with us. Not on the air, but separately. We're not going to get on the air and read pages. Okay, but we can all read it separately, and we'll have a start date and an end date. And then by the end date, we'll come back and we'll take 15 minutes from a show and kind of discuss that book. I think that'd be kind of cool if we can get people to kind of read along with us. It might be a good way to kind of encourage reading. So stupid.
That sounded cheese.
And this is the Weird West Radio PSA.
Yeah. Now it's knowing is half the battle.
So I think what we're going to do is possibly start this next week, but I think the first book that we'll start, so I have a chance to promote it a bit, maybe we'll even start it in February, will be the book club. We'll call it the Weird West Radio Book Club. And I think the first book we're going to choose to talk about for the month, I want it to be the Good, the Bad, and the Infernal.
Cool.
And I know you've already read it, which makes it easy for you for the first month, but it gives me a chance to read it because I'm actually behind. I need to read that book, but I need to finish another one first. So I think we should do that. And, if you guys like that idea, tweet us at Weird West Radio or at Michael_Flores or at, what's yours, Clint?
The 4F45.
And let us know what you think of that idea, the book club. You don't have to be an old lady, in their 60s to enjoy a nice book club. We can talk about the book. You can call into the show on the days that we record the show. You can send us tweets, emails, whatever you want to do. And we're going to ask for opinions. So hopefully that we're not going to fall on our face here and then we get no input. But I think at the end of that month, when we're done reading the book, we get all the emails, basically the feedback from anybody who's joined our book club. And we'll read them on air, or they can even choose to call into the show, and we can all kind of debate and discuss the ins and outs and what we liked and what we didn't like about the book.
I think that's awesome.
You like that idea?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so let's start that in February then, if you're good with that.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Especially because I got the book already read.
I'm going to change the book now. So on that note, we do need to end the show. Thanks again, Clint. I'm glad we're back to doing. I love doing these shows. Despite being very busy, I enjoy doing the shows. So I hope you're glad to be back.
I am. It's fun.
Good. Again, we'll be back next week with another Weird West Radio and Rain Man Digital. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
It's a dark night.
He be taken from such prison to a suitable and convenient place of execution within said county, and there be hanged by the neck till he be dead. Now, do you have anything to say, young man?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. You can go to hell.